Hello, fantasy managers, and welcome to another edition of the First Pitch Podcast. My name is Trevor Hooth. Appreciate you joining me here today. Not a whole lot of games happening yesterday, but plenty of runs, and that was just the Dodgers. They scored 19 of them. We'll get into that one in a little bit. First, of course, we are going to talk about some of the news. Colton Cowser for the Orioles is doing some light outfield work. That doesn't mean he's close to returning, but it is a positive step for the young outfielder. You know, the Orioles would love to get him back in their lineup. Again, it's just light outfield work. That is the phrasing that was used. That is what's happening. So he is on the right track, but still not likely to come back anytime soon. Still going to probably need a lengthy rehab assignment, or at least some sort of rehab assignment. He's eligible to come off the IL at the end of this month, but doesn't seem like he's going to be on track to come off on the day he's eligible. Keep your eye on the news for that. The White Sox made a couple moves. They traded with Houston to get reliever Miguel Castro. Probably nothing, but the White Sox don't have the best bullpen, so who knows what role Miguel Castro might play for them should he join that bullpen. You just never know. They could use their help. Not that they have a ton of saves and holds opportunities, necessarily to begin with, but if a veteran joining the bullpen, they might want him in a pretty significant role. White Sox also claim Vinny Capra from the Brewers and designate Gage Workman, a Rule 5 pick of the Cubs, was with the Cubs for a little bit. They decided to put him on waivers. The White Sox grab him. White Sox now DFA him in order to get Vinny Capra, which means Gage Workman is back with the Tigers organization. Capra has no more options. So when he does report to the White Sox, they are going to have to clear space on their active roster. He's hit well in the minors over the course of his career, but hitting just 105 in his plate appearances at the big league level. Should get some extended time with the White Sox. However, he'll have to hit in order to earn that time. The Twins decided to option Simeon Woods Richardson. He's been not great as of late. The fifth starter, not crazy, but the weird news there is that Cody Funderburk was a 27th man for the doubleheader, but he's going to end up staying with the team because they decided to send Woods Richardson down. That being said, the big news out of Twins camp, Zebby Matthews is set to be promoted and start on Sunday. Zebby has a sub-2 ERA, a 1.93 ERA to be exact, in AAA this year with just fantastic walk rates. He is not giving away many free passes. He was one of their top prospects, still probably considered that a young pitcher who can make an impact in the Twins rotation, finally getting his chance. It seemed like he should have earlier. They decided to go with Festa, but Zebby is coming up again to start on Sunday. The Tampa Bay Rays reinstate Josh Lowe. They send Travis Jankowski to the IL. In his return, Lowe goes 3 for 5 with a home run, so he came back, hit pretty well, and obviously they're going to be happy to have him back in their lineup. Some other guys coming back from injury. Spencer Strider is set to return from the injured list and make a start in the Washington series. That starts on Monday, so it won't be this weekend, but it will be early next week when we see Spencer Strider return. He had his long comeback and return for about a minute there, but then left or headed back to the IL with a hamstring injury. According to Brian Snitker, the Braves manager, it will not be a 6-man rotation. They have optioned Bryce Elder. So just some shakeups happening there. But the headline, Spencer Strider is set to return from the IL and make a start early next week. Speaking of guys coming back from injury, per the Astros manager Joe Espada, Yordan Alvarez is really close. Said he's feeling good, but needs a few more days. That is very vague. I have no idea what that means, but apparently Alvarez is feeling good and needs a few more days. Take it at face value, I guess. And finally, so with the Twins, Byron Buxton was 1 for 2 with a home run in the game. Carlos Correa was 0 for 1, but they both exited after a collision that happened in the game. They are both in concussion protocol now. So Buxton and Correa, day to day at this point until we know more, but they are in concussion protocol after a collision happened in that game. Taking a look at some of the highlights from yesterday's game, Jake Berger with the Rangers goes 2 for 3 with a home run. He's now 5 for 12 with a home run, a double, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts in his 4 games since returning to the Rangers after a very short stint in AAA. They sent him down. He was having some issues, but he is swinging the bat really well right now since returning to the big league club. I mentioned Josh Lowe at his home run. Brandon Lau had 2 home runs, and Cameron Misner added a home run for the Rays in that game as well. For the Blue Jays, Addison Barger had a pair of hits, including home run. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit his 5th home run, as well as a pair of walks, and Nathan Lukes joined in on the party with a home run too. Lots of home runs going on in yesterday's games. Nathan Lukes is hitting 273 on the season. Matt McLain, he's had a rough start to the year. He hit a home run and a double in the game. His numbers don't look great. I mean, he still hasn't really been hitting that well, but it seems like things may be starting to pick up. Over his last 7 games, hitting 240 with a pair of home runs, still has 8 strikeouts in that time. That's in like 25 at bats. So the strikeout rate is still pretty high, but it seems like he's starting to pick up a little bit, at least in maybe counting stats, and just hitting the ball a little bit more regularly, which is definitely something that, we want to see from Matt McLain. CJ Abrams continuing his great season. He's hitting 317 on the year, added his 6th home run, going 2 for 4 in the game yesterday. Also stole his 9th base on the year. So CJ Abrams, great year so far. The catching situation in Atlanta is going to start looking weirder and weirder and get more difficult to predict. Sean Murphy kind of has had the lion's share of starts, it seems like, at the backstop position, but Drake Baldwin started off slow. Everything underlying said it was going to get better, and boy, is it. He had a 3-hit game yesterday, all singles, but he is playing well enough to where it's probably going to be a timeshare soon. And that's not coming from me. That is news from Brian Snitker, the manager. It seems like a timeshare might be coming based on the way that Drake Baldwin is hitting. So Murphy and Baldwin might be going more 50-50 than anything else in terms of who's going to be getting the games starting at catcher. So something to keep an eye on if you roster Sean Murphy like I do in my 30-teamer, or if you roster Drake Baldwin, you've been waiting on him to get, to get regular playing time. That might be coming in a more, more so as the season progresses. Okay. The Dodgers had a home run derby, basically. They just laid 19 runs on the Athletics. I think it was 19-2 was the final score there. Max Muncy hit a home run. Shohei Ohtani had a pair of home runs. Andy Pages hit a home run, and James Outman hit a home run. Lots of home runs there. In all, they had 18 hits and scored 19 runs. They were doing really good things offensively. On the other end, I think Shea Langoliers had a double. I think maybe the Athletics hit a home run, but they just were not in that game early on. The Dodgers scored 13 runs in the first 3 innings off of Osvaldo Bido and Alexander out of their bullpen, out of the A's bullpen. So certainly a good game for the Dodgers offense, including the debut of highly touted catching prospect Dalton Rushing. Dalton Rushing debuted 2 for 4 with a walk and a strikeout, but now we are having an influx of prospect catchers around the league. Dalton Rushing is one of them. Moises Ballesteros has been called up by the Cubs recently. Edgar Caro is already up. So we are seeing a lot of young catching options. Drake Baldwin, obviously, I talked about earlier. He's been up for a while, obviously, since opening day. But we are seeing an influx of young players, young hitters at that catching position right now. So if you're hurting for catcher, I mean, hey, it doesn't hurt to take a look at some of these guys. Looking at some of the starting pitching, Hunter Brown went full Jacob deGrom, or at least, early era Jacob deGrom. Hunter Brown takes the loss after throwing 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 9 strikeouts. They lost the game 1-0. Funny enough, he was facing off against Jacob deGrom. And Jacob deGrom, I guess, finally got run support. And when I say run, I mean that literally. A single run. He got 1. So Jacob deGrom picks up the win after going 8 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. So Hunter Brown vintage Jacob deGrom kind of day. Jacob deGrom, a vintage Jacob deGrom kind of day, except he was on the right end of that low-scoring affair and finally picked up a win, something I'm sure he wished he did a lot more of when he was pitching for the Mets. Nick Martinez, 7 shutout innings, a pair of hits, and only 3 strikeouts for the Reds. Chris Paddock had a similar kind of day. He also went 7 shutout innings, gave up 3 hits, walked 1, and struck out 3. So some low strikeouts, high efficiency games for Nick Martinez and Chris Paddock. And speaking of Chris Paddock, over his last 7 games, he's thrown 39 a third innings, has 29 strikeouts, and a 2.06 ERA. I think he had a rough start or two at the beginning of the season, but since then, he has just been pitching very well, at least, in terms of suppressing runs. He's not going to get you a bunch of strikeouts or anything like that, but Chris Paddock stringing together some good starts. AJ Smith-Shawver for the Braves. He went 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, a pair of walks, strikeouts. In his starts in May, Smith-Shawver has 19 and 2/3 innings, 1 earned run, 18 strikeouts, and 8 walks. From the beginning of the year, it was really tough to look at a guy like AJ Smith-Shawver or even Hurston Waldrop if you're looking at the readily available prospects for Atlanta, because it seemed like their rotation was going to be pretty set. But Smith-Shawver has certainly pitched his way into it, and he's done a very good job, at least as of late. It seems like he's found his stride. Whether that continues on, I know on the list, Nick doesn't seem to be as sold on Smith-Shawver long term, but it seems like lately he has been pitching very well, and that is definitely something to take note of. 18 strikeouts in those close to 20 innings, but in May he has been on fire. One reliever I want to mention really quick is Luis May with the Reds. Now, I know that I mentioned relievers offhand just because they have nasty stuff. They don't always get the best opportunities to get holds and saves. Mason Fluharty and Daniel Palencia are ones that I talked about last weekend. Luis May is in that same boat. Okay, he throws triple digits, can throw 102, 103, whatever. He's a flamethrower, right? He has started really well in his big league career this year. It seemed like that might not happen. He had a lot of walk and command concerns when he was in AAA prior to his call-up, but since joining the Reds, he has 11 strikeouts in 7 1/3 innings and 3 walks. He has gotten the opportunity to get 1 hold in his young career. He went 1 inning and 2 strikeouts in the game yesterday. Does this translate to regular leverage situations? Does he, is he helpful in saves holes leagues? Not right now. But again, we are early in the season and you have guys who are pitching well with premium type stuff. Luis May, Daniel Palencia are 2 of my favorites to be watching because they have every opportunity to grow into leverage roles. I mean, with the Cubs situation, Drew Pomeranz just got a save for them. They're back into their bullpen might be in a little bit more of a question. That could open up the door for Daniel Palencia, who has continued to pitch well. Luis May, we'll have to see how that evolves over time. We'll see if the command is actually true, because sometimes it's just not. He is, again, his AAA numbers were not. I was surprised when he got called up. I'll put it that way. But good for him, pitching well, getting the strikeouts, everything you want to see. We're going to take a look at some of the games coming up today, looking at some of the starting pitching matchups. There are some good ones that are going to be happening. But right now, we're going to take a quick timeout. This is the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. And welcome back to the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Hooth. Appreciate you joining me. We looked at some news. We looked at some highlights from yesterday's games. Let's take a look at today and see what we got coming up. One of the more fun storylines in terms of starting pitchers for today's games. The Chicago rookies, Shane Smith, the first overall Rule 5 pick, who has been fantastic, and I mean fantastic for the White Sox out of their rotation, is going to be facing off against Cade Horton, the highly touted prospect for the Cubs. This will be Horton's first career start, second career game. He's already made his debut. He did so in relief. And Shane Smith, one note on him is that he is stretching out more and more. He's been at or close to, I think it's like 87 and 91 pitches over his last 2 starts. Prior to that, he'd been in that 70 to 80 pitch range. So he's starting to stretch out more and more. that hasn't translated to more than 6 innings yet. He's been around that mark all season, but you got to think maybe he'll start getting into the 7th or whatever else because he is stretching out. Mackenzie Gore is going to be taking the bump, uh, and we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, Mackenzie Gore very good so far this year, looking to have a good outing against a struggling lineup. Corbin Burns is going to be pitching against the Rockies at home. Corbin Burns has a good ERA, not the strikeouts that we're accustomed to seeing from him, but you got to think this is a prime game for him to add to that strikeout total. Tyler Kolek, fresh off of his complete game shutout, will be facing the Mariners. So that is interesting to watch. He's made 2 starts this year, thrown 14 1/3 innings, and has yet to surrender a run, 11 strikeouts in that time. So Tyler Kolek starting off really well in his season, his first 2 starts, again, trying to carry that momentum from that complete game shutout. Of note, I tried to look it up a little bit, couldn't find any real answers for it, but there are to be determined starters for the Marlins, Rockies, and Mariners. Don't think that means any high-end call-ups, may just be bullpen games, but certainly something to watch if you're looking for streamers or whatever else. TBD starters for the Marlins, Rockies, and Mariners. And finally, the game of the day, the pitching matchup of the day for me is the battle of the former White Sox lefty aces. Chris Sale versus Garrett Crochet. The Braves versus the Red Sox. Chris Sale facing his old team. Garrett Crochet facing the guy that he got compared to a lot as he was coming up with the White Sox system because he was a solid, nasty lefty. Going to be a fun one. Chris Sale versus Garrett Crochet, battle of the former White Sox lefty aces. I know I already said that, but I think that makes for a really good storyline. Could be a really fun game. That's what I got for you. I appreciate you joining me here on this First Pitch podcast. I will see you guys tomorrow. But of course, make sure to check out pitcherlist.com. Lots of great articles going up all the time. We have our top 100 list written by Nick Pollock. We have the hitter list written by Scott Chu. We have the reliever lists written by Rick Graham. And of course, all the other fantastic content that comes out. We have an active Discord where we talk baseball. Make sure to join that. Join PL Pro if you are not already a part of that, because fantastic information comes all the time and just great conversation in general. With that, though, once again, I will see you tomorrow. This has been another edition of the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List.